The NFL is the most watched sports league in the US every year because of the stars. Yet people who actually pay attention to football games know that it's about all 11 guys on the field, and many of the top performers don't receive the attention they deserve. So this is what I want to talk about today. Not Tua throwing bombs to Tyreek Hill, all those 49ers skill position players making tackles look foolish, or even someone like rookie wide receiver Puka Nacua setting records, since I've heard his name more than any other player in the league probably since the season started. No, it's the guys who have been playing at a level they weren't expected to, and casual observers might not even be aware of, but have stood out every week so far. And let me just quickly start with some honorable mentions here who nearly made the list. The Lions rookies, in particular the 2 second-round picks, tight end Sam Laporta, who currently leads everybody at the position in receiving yards as I'm recording this before the Thursday night game with 18 catches for 186, and Nickelback Brian Branch, who obviously had that game-changing pick 6 in the kickoff game at Kansas City, but his ability to create negative plays for the offense in the run game and shutting down quick completions, as well as coming up with 3 more PBUs, has really stood out. Another rookie and interior defensive lineman Keanu Benton for the Steelers, somebody who many draft analysts, including myself, loved coming out of Wisconsin, has really helped with the loss of Cam Hayward in the middle, actively looking to make plays in the run game, being able to control and jet blockers, as well as consistently providing push up the middle on quarterbacks. Cardinals linebacker Kaiser White, who I already thought was an underrated piece of the Eagles defense last year, with his range on the second level and the ways he helped out in coverage. He's flashed on several occasions, shutting down screen passes and plays out to the perimeter, before getting that massive goal line interception in the upset win over the Cowboys last week. 2 young speedster receivers who have really emerged this season in Rashid Shaheed for the Saints and the other Rams receiver Tutu Atwell. Shaheed is the guy New Orleans draws up vertical shots for, even to close out some games when defenses overload the box. Plus then he had that big punt return touchdown at Green Bay this past Sunday. While Atwell may not quite have the same insane volume that rookie Puka Nacua has received, but operates in a similar facet to some of the ways Miami utilizes the burners of Tyreek Hill, but he give him advantages with the way they release him out of stacks or bunches, and neutralize the size disadvantage, which people made fun of when he was drafted in the second round a couple of years ago. Now he's burning defenses. Denico Autry, the ultra-versatile defensive lineman for the Titans, can play end on base downs, then kick inside on designated dropback situations, really move all across the front to create problems, and involve himself in different games. He currently leads the team in sacks, quarterback hits, and tackles for loss, along with forcing a fumble. Plus, I could have easily added Arden Key, who was added in the offseason, destroyed the Saints left tackle in week 1, and can be that guy they line up over the center as a looper or even as a spy. And finally, sticking with the position group, Rashawn Gary for the Packers, who's been a menace coming off the edge for Green Bay. His usage has been limited a little bit due to coming off a torn ACL last year around this time, but I saw Marcus Whitman tweet this out on Monday. He runs a pretty cool YouTube channel himself, a lot bigger than mine if you want to check him out. On a 425 pass rush snap basis, which is the average for your top flight edge defenders, Gary would be on pace for 37.5 sacks and 122 pressures, which is absolutely insane. Alright, let's not get into the actual list though. 3 players each on offense and defense. I'll quickly give you the stats and just a little bit of background information before I run you through like 6 or 7 plays for each of these guys. And we'll start with a lesser known name from what is currently the best defense in the entire NFL. Grant Delpit, safety for the Cleveland Browns, 13 solo tackles, an interception, 2 pass breakups, and a fumble recovery so far. He's played 98% of the defensive snaps for Cleveland. Rodney McLeod jumped in week 1 when Juan Thornhill wasn't quite ready yet, and since then he's taking over alongside Delpit. But no matter what, those guys are interchangeable, and it makes it really hard for offenses when they're in split safety looks to decipher how they'll rotate. Although Delpit is certainly a guy you want close to the ball just because of the impact he can make. The defensive line in that trio of corners gets all the glory for Cleveland, and deservedly so, but Delpit's play has been a major factor in the Browns having the top defense in terms of success rates all 3 weeks so far, and at 78%, that's the best mark of any team through 3 weeks since 2000 according to True Media. Delpit himself is currently 3rd behind only Miami's Javon Holland and Atlanta's Jesse Bates with an elite PFF grade among safeties. Let's check out some of his plays. Week 1, when he held the Bengals to just 3 points on the day, it's 3rd and 7, and really what it's all about is the slant routes by Tyler Boyd as the number 3 in trips. The Browns are playing cover 1, so you have this deep safety back here roaming, and otherwise it's man coverage across the board. As we let this run a little bit, you see Delpit is an outside leverage here, so not perfect to defend this, but check him out clicking and closing on Boyd here running the slant route. Gets a little bit of help from the deep safety Rodney McLeod barreling down on him as well. And he's stopping 1 yard short of the sticks here. We're now in the 4th quarter, and it's another 3rd down, 4 yards to go. Bengals are in a 2x2 set with a stack at the top, which the Browns counter with a 5-0 front here. Out of dime personnel, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 DBs out here. And they're playing cover 1 robber, with the field side safety dropping down. Delpit is in man coverage against T. Higgins on the slot fade route, and watch how physical he gets with him. He's gonna armbar the receiver and stick in his hip pocket, not allow himself to get stacked vertically. Ball arrives at the back shoulder, and he pokes it away perfectly. You can really see it from the end zone angle here. As the ball comes out, Delpit right in position, and as the ball gets there, just popping it out. Next drive, it's 2nd and 10. Bengals on a 3x1 set with this dirty bunch at the top. Versus a 2-high look by the Browns, with Delpit as the boundary safety over here. And they bring an awesome designer play here, where they blitz this corner on the short side, and bail out into an invert cover 2 variation, where Delpit is gonna be covering the deep half here. As soon as Joe Burrow realizes this, he tries to get the ball to Jamar Chase on this fade route. The receiver reacts to this by actively slowing himself down to not run into coverage, but the ball hangs up there a little bit, and check out this closing burst from Delpit to lower the boom here at the sideline and dislodge the ball for another big stop. Week 2 now at Pittsburgh, it's the first 3rd down of the day for Cleveland's defense, already down 7-3, following a Steelers pick 6 and a field goal drive by the offense, 3 yards away from the sticks. Pittsburgh is in a 3x1 set, with a tight end at the top here, and Delpit is lined up over him. And this is straight up single high cover 1, where the down safety plus the 2 linebackers are responsible for the back and the tight end here. JOK will end up matching the back flanked his way, while Anthony Walker and Grant Delpit banjo the tight end Pat Frymouth here, meaning they match him depending on how he stems his route. Not surprising for Steelers offensive coordinator Matt Canada calls up an uninspiring levels concept on the trip side, with backside curl, where really there are no levels to it, so I almost don't want to call it that, but it's all square in routes at about 5 yards of depth. And because this tight end stays inside of Delpit the whole way, he can read the quarterback's eyes, triggers as he sees the throwing motion initiated, and undercuts the slot receiver for the pick. It would have actually gone for 6 if he didn't slip here. Let's watch a nice play in run support now. Next possession, 1st and 10, trying to get something going for the Steelers. Then 12 or 21 personnel, depending on what you count, number 83 Connor Hayward as. The Browns are in nickel personnel on the other side, and walk down Delpit as they see Hayward motion into this more traditional I formation in order to run his lead toss play to the strong side, with the tight end pinning the defensive end inside, the left tackle pulling out to the corner, and you got the fullback leading the way. Watch Delpit now angle towards the inside shoulder of the tackle, crash into him, also take out the fullback, and force Najee Harris, who currently may not crack a 4.8, to bounce out to the cornerback, and he gets taken down for a 3-yard loss. As we flip this around again, just check out Delpit walking down late as we get into his I formation, and then boom, he just looks like a bowling ball out there who's forcing the issue. Week 3 against the Titans, the Browns made it a priority to set the tone in the run game early and neutralize Derrick Henry, holding him to 20 yards rushing on 11 attempts. Here the Titans come out in this ace duo set with 2 tight ends to the right on 2nd and 5. And they'll run outside zone that way. Cleveland counters with base personnel and drop down Delpit to the backside edge over here. He times up the snap perfectly, immediately flattens down the line, and is able to chase down King Henry for just a 2-yard gain. And to close this out, here's a nice back-to-back play sequence for Delpit around midfield, later on in the first half. It's 2nd and 5, and the Titans are in a 3x1 set here originally with a stack at the top and his offset tight end. They motion the offset wide receiver across, and that I'm guessing is an auto check, at least for this specific matchup, for the nickel to the strong side, which is rookie Cameron Mitchell in this case, to come off the edge. Delpit drops down to match the tight end over here. We've got man coverage from the outside, and across from it, it's quasi-man coverage. Really, I think the call actually has quarters, but that means you just match whoever's in front of you depending on how these releases work out. So as we watch Delpit here, feels comfortable coming down, breaking hard in this out route, and setting a physical tackle here, a couple yards short of the sticks, which after penalties on both sides gets us to 3rd and 2, and we've got another 3-by-1 with a bunch at the bottom this time. The Browns counter with a pretty traditional cover 3 behind this 4-man rush, and once again we pay attention to Delpit here, who is down here as a dime backer basically in this hook zone, because the key route he's ultimately going to be responsible for is this drag by the X receiver in his reduced split. He stays patient initially in order to help muddy up this picture and make Tannehill uncomfortable throwing this. But then as the quarterback leaves to the left side and he sees Treylon Burks flattening down the line here, he's going to come downhill aggressively and set this tackle just short of the sticks. The energy and aggressiveness this guy's played with has been awesome to watch. Once again, there are so many different pieces in this Browns defense all working out right now to where they have just been dominant through 3 weeks with Jim Schwartz calling the shots. But having Delpit being able to match tight ends or wide receivers at the number 3 spot when they're in trips, he can really play more like a traditional strong safety down in the box, being able to funnel run plays back towards his teammates. But then on top of that, it's the stuff that he can do in coverage, all the different looks that they can present. And then just his football IQ when he's caught in suboptimal positions, still being able to create stops for his defense. He's been really fun to watch for me. Let's now transition, however, to our first offensive player on the list, and that's Kyren Williams, the second-year running back for the LA Rams. He's carried the ball 39 times for 142 yards and caught 8 passes for another 77, combining for 4 touchdowns. 44% of his rushing yards have come after contact, and he's averaging nearly 10 yards per reception so far, despite a negative depth of target of minus 1.8 yards. And this has certainly been surprising to some degree, considering despite the type of on-off relationship the Rams organization has had with Cam Akers, he did have a hot finish to the 2022 season, while Williams missed nearly half of his rookie campaign with a foot injury. Yet while Akers officially got the start in week 1, it was obvious from the get-go that this was the guy. When you look at his snap share through 3 quarters in a shocking blowout win over the Seahawks, and then Akers was a healthy scratch the next week before ultimately getting traded to the Vikings because they wanted to feature this kid. And he's delivered in a massive way as a true 3-down player who's played 85% of the offensive snaps so far, which is rare for any player at the position. I love it because remembering back to the 2022 draft, I had him as my number 7 overall running back, yet he was the 15th name off the board in the middle of the 5th round, since I thought he played bigger and faster than the measurables would make you believe. So week 1 at Seattle, these first 2 plays are not particularly flashy, but very important for you to earn the playing time. We've got 1st and 10 on the opposing half of the field with just under 3 minutes left in the first half. The Rams are in this condensed 12 personnel look and bring the receiver towards the field across on a jet motion, faking the sweep that way and running counter the other. But as the Rams try to pull the backside tackle across, we have some penetration on the front side, creating traffic in the backfield and leaving the edge defender on the front side unblocked. Yet, as you can see, Kyren finds a way to bounce off contact and churn ahead for 3 yards. Let's watch this from the end zone angle so you can really see what's going on and I can draw it up for you. So motion comes across, right tackle pulls across for this kick out on the edge defender on the front side, who they leave unblocked initially in order to be able to just block down everybody else. However, as you see in a second, number 94 Mike Morris, he aggressively attacks up the field and avoids this down block by the left guard. It gets the pulling tackle held up as he's trying to work across for the kick out. You have this edge defender out here, I think I drew it up a little bit wrong, but number 0 is going to be the guy here. He's coming through pretty much untouched. But now check out Williams' balance at just under 200 pounds to stay on his feet here and squeeze through in order to keep the offense on schedule, gaining 3 instead of losing yardage. And now on the very next snap, one of the big reasons the Rams have put trust in this 5th round pick from a year ago, pass protection. The Seahawks are in this super wide form in front, and the 2 off-ball linebackers, number 54 and 0, are the only 2 threats of blitzing here. Kyren is flanked to the offense's left side, but Ellie will work a half-line slide over there, with the right tackle responsible for this wide rusher, the guard one-on-one with the free technique, and the running back has to work across for any potential blitzers. Number 0, Devin Bush, is going to come on this angled B-gap blitz, but watch Kyren erase that space towards him, drop his weight, deliver a pop, and then ride him up the field, so Stafford has this clean platform to throw from. Unfortunately, the ball is a little bit out in front for his receiver, but awesome job all around in pass protection. This is at the end of a 10-play drive to start the second half. The Rams are at the opposing 7-yard line and count on 11 personnel, with a tight end to the left side and a tight bunch the other way, as they bring Puka Nacua, the offset receiver, here across, and he's supposed to lead up on the corner. They have a combo block on the defensive end up to the place at backer, and pretty much blocked out on everybody else. I'd think this is supposed to hit between the corner and the linebacker here, but what Williams does here is lead this guy on the second level towards the outside a little bit with the way that he aims at that crease along the tight end to peel off and get a piece of him to just push him a little bit further that way. Now slices underneath him, drops the pass on the safety, and extends forward for the touchdown. Another awesome rep in pass pro by the running back here. Rams are running trips into the boundary, and I guess that's what enables the Seahawks to bring pressure off the slot from this reduced split now, especially as the number 2 is motioned across into a 2x2 look. Seattle again is in this wide front and threaten both the A-gaps, but I'm guessing number 8 here, the nickelback Kobe Bryant, it's up to 100 pounds. I wouldn't really consider him a real threat to blitz here. Where they do bring that extra heat though is from the slot at the bottom. This to me looks like big on big or just 5 on 5 across the board, and Kyren is supposed to sort this out for the biggest threat outside of that, and he's able to peek out of the corner of his eye where the blitz is coming from and stonewalls the DB Artie Burns here for Stafford to be able to cleanly get the ball off to Puka Nacua for the first down. Week 2 against the 49ers now, first drive of the day at the fringe of field goal range. The Rams come out in this condensed 3x1 look with a tight end to the offense's left side and this tight bunch over here. The motion number 5 Tutu Atwell across. Only this time they still run towards that stack on a cracked toss where the tip man Puka Nacua caves in the defensive end and the center reach blocks or really takes down the shade nose here, which allows the tackle to the side to pull, the guard to get out in front as well. Kyren does a great job of threading in the corner and then slices underneath the guard for 6 or 7 yards. That burst does not scream 4.65 to me. And this might be my favorite Kyren play so far, because it kind of encapsulates everything he does in one. Condensed 2x2 on first down. We've got a curl and out route at the top, plus a scissors concept at the bottom, with Kyren chip releasing into the flats underneath the ladder. He gets a nice rip shot on the defensive tackle here, who's working over towards the B-gap that he's supposed to release through. And then he's working out to the flats. He realizes that instead of drifting further away, he should slow himself down to not run into this awaiting flat defender. Yet the ball is still slightly thrown behind him. He's able to turn back for it, quickly gets off the ground, and is able to churn through those first 2 tacklers. New first down, just tremendous work. The Rams have worked their way down the field and are in 3rd and 1 from the San Francisco 4-yard line. They come out in another condensed 2x2 set, and this is one of the plays we already saw in the first game, where this tight end at the bottom, Tyler Higbee, comes in motion just before the snap. And on paper, he's supposed to kick out the left defensive end, whilst the left tackle and guard block down the shade nose and plays a backer. Only here, number 94, Cleveland Farrell, the defensive end, he's seen this on tape, and instead of just holding his ground, he'll try to wrong shoulder the tight end here, or rather actually attack the tackle. Fred Warner tries to dip underneath the block, but Kyren does just enough to work around that, and then drops the pads on the safety at the goal line for the touchdown. You can really see this subtle adjustment from this angle. And I'm telling you, Warner is so freaking good that he nearly makes this play anyway, as he dips underneath the block like an edge rusher almost, but Williams opens the toe to bend around just enough to avoid getting tripped up here and powers over the wide line for the touchdown. Now forward to the 4th quarter, back in field goal range on the 3rd and 1, and it's that same variation of a power play if you want to call it that, taking advantage of the defense aligned the front towards the tight end's original spot. And as he just gets in motion before the snap here, this time it works out like originally planned, with a kick out on the defensive end, number 94 here. But what I want you to pay attention to is Kyren going one step further here in how he sets up this block on a nickelback that we don't quite see yet, but I'll come into the picture in a second. He makes sure to stay tight here, going through the hole, which brings the slot defender inside, and by doing so, Van Jefferson is able to push him a little bit further that way. So he pins him that way, Kyren sticks his inside foot into the ground, and bends around that action without really losing any speed. Talanoa Hufanga is able to just get him to the turf, but a less physical safety may not end up doing so, and he might be off to the races. Kyren is not a super explosive or powerful back necessarily, but he's got more juice and gains more yards through contact than many people would have believed with him originally, coming out of Notre Dame, and he does everything well enough for Sean McVay and company to trust him in what is the closest thing we have today in terms of a feature back. So don't just go by the efficiency metrics when you consider what he's been able to do behind an offensive line that on paper is below average personnel-wise still. That brings us to number 3 on the list, Josh Allen. And no, I'm not talking about the Bills quarterback, but rather the Jaguars edge defender, who just because he has the same name as a superstar quarterback gets talked about less than he should. He's been one of the better players at his position ever since he was drafted 7th overall in the 2019 draft, now playing on his 5th-year option. Through 3 games, he's recorded 13 total tackles, 3 of those for loss, 3 sacks, and 6 more quarterback hits. And overshadowed by an offense that can't get out of their own way with turnovers, bad drops, and feet not being cupped in bounds for touchdowns, along with special teams allowing fullbacks to go for 85-yard kick return touchdowns, is a defense that currently is top 7 in yards per rush, pressure rate, and takeaways. Josh has been a disruptive force on the edge for that unit, despite not being in positive game script situations as much as they would have liked to, and he hasn't gotten much help at all, because while his pass rush win rate isn't up there with the best at the position, because offenses could focus on him, the rest of the defense has just 2 other sacks and only 1 other player with at least 2 quarterback hits. Let's watch some of his plays. And we'll start week 1 at Indianapolis. It's the first 3rd down of the season with 8 yards to go. Colts are in an A set with tight ends to either side of the line, who are there to chip and release while they half slide the protection towards Allen. Jags counter with this 5-0 surface, with the edges lined up outside the tight ends, and because of that, it's going to be a tougher job for number 41 here, because you know he's going to have an extended arc to get home. He actually gets pushed further by the tight end to the outside, then has to go underneath this running back, working out into the flats, rips through the reach of the right tackle, and circles back around to quarterback Anthony Richardson escaping to the left to jump on his back like Superman for the sack and get the season started off right. Early in the second half, Colts now have both tight ends to the left side for what I'd refer to as an ace duo set. They fake wide zone that way and boot the other with crosses by the 2 tight ends working into the vision of the quarterback at different depths. Jags counter with the 3-4 base, but shifted towards the strong side and drop down the boundary safety Andre Cisco into the box. And as we watch Allen over here, this shows you his combination of discipline, change of direction, and closing burst. Initially, he takes a flat angle down here, but as he realizes that the quarterback pulls the ball, he's able to redirect. You see the effort, arms pumping hard, to force the quarterback to step out of bounds for no gain. Very next snap, now it's Josh Allen dropping out here into the flats from this 5-man front. Initially he helps muddy up this look by the slot receiver running a hitch route, which, because the nickel is shifted towards the field side, this should theoretically be an easy hookup, but Allen's presence alone is enough to get Richardson to come off it. He's flushed towards Allen, and Allen races up, forcing him to step out of bounds yet again for a 2-yard loss. And just a quick one, Allen is now on the strong side of another ace duo set. They run outside zone that way again, but I'm guessing this is a bust, where instead of comboing up to the place at linebacker, they should go 2-on-2 out here. But man, watch this get off, the bend, and a hit for the tackle for loss. Boom! Down goes the running back. Big play. Moving on to week 2 now, Chiefs driving the ball after 3-and-out in the first possession. Big 3rd and 10 here, so I'm going to get a little bit more in detail here. And we see this all the time where Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, they're going to create magic on third down, where Mahomes moves around and finds Kelce working towards open space. Only this time, it's called back for a hold on the left tackle Donovan Smith down here, going up against Allen on this inside move. And I want you to watch this from the end zone angle yet again. Jags are in this 5-0 surface, with 4 defensive ends on the field, and the linebacker walked up over the center. The linebacker for Oluokun over the center drops out into the hook zone, while the 2 interior rushers pinch inside, giving Allen, after receiving a slight chip by the tight end over here, the ability to go inside. He uses that momentum delivered by the chip to his advantage, and after threatening the corner with speed a couple of times earlier, he rips through the inside shoulder of the left tackle, forcing that guy to hook him, and the refs end up throwing a flag for holding. Chiefs move back to 3rd and 20 now, and Mahomes has to check it down to his back on that play as the Chiefs had to punt. Later in the first half, Kansas City has 2 tight ends to the bottom and started in this condensed 2x2 look, motioning the offset receiver across in order to create more space for Justin Watson at the top to take this deep shot on 2nd and extra long. This theoretically is a great look as the Jags bail out into cover 2 and safety Rayshon Jenkins has to widen out here, which Watson now perfectly splits these 2 safeties, and while Andre Cisco from the other side does a great job of recognizing what they're trying to do and closing in here. If they get off a perfect throw over the top, leading the receiver up the field, that would defeat it, and I think it's safe to assume that Patrick Mahomes can deliver that ball. But the pass actually dies on him and gets picked off because Allen just flattens Mahomes as he's trying to release the ball, and we're going to see it in a second here. Watch this from the end zone view. The D-line is once again shifted towards the strong side, and I'm guessing this just isn't a particularly good rush from rookie defensive tackle Tyler Lacey. Either he's allowing the guard to square him up, or this is supposed to be a delayed ET twist, which I actually think where Allen has to slant inside, and the D-tackle delays this a little bit before looping to the outside. Because from Allen's approach, it appears that he has at least the freedom to attack the B-gap here, as he's working an up and under move where he takes 2 steps up the field, then sticks the outside foot into the ground, and crashes through the tackle's inside shoulder. He actually has to bang off the guard here that his teammate has led his way, but that doesn't slow him down, and he puts Mahomes on his behind, forcing the bad throw and Cisco to pick it off. And one more play from the Texans game, big 3rd down and 8 here from midfield. Houston motions into this little stack at the top for a 2x2 set ultimately. And it's all about setting up this in-breaking route by Nico Collins at the sticks as the cross release at the bottom and also just run off the coverage the other way. And you'll see while number 31, Kyren Williams, does a solid job cutting this off, they probably have this conversion. If not for number 41 affecting the throw, he gets a hit on CJ Stroud just as he's trying to get the ball out. Jacksonville is in this widened 3-1 front, so to speak, with the defensive tackles actually being lined up head up over the tackle and pretty much head up over the guard over here as well. Plus we see those defensive ends also in those tilted alignments on the outside, with Allen over here on the left side. The D-tackle to his side is rushing the B-gap, but as we let this run a little bit, it's not like he really attacks half the shoulder, while Allen threatens 3 steps up the field, then converts speed to power and realizes the opportunity to take the inside path in order to get this crucial hit on the quarterback and force the incompletion. Really need more from the pass rush, but Allen is the one guy who's been able to get those crucial hits on the quarterback or draw flags that allow them to get the opposing team off the field. He plays the run hard, he can drop out into coverage, he plays his ass off all the time, and I think he'll end up getting a pretty big contract this offseason if he keeps going like this. Now let's talk about one of the unsung heroes of this historically explosive Miami Dolphins offense, the guy in the middle of it all, center Kyren Williams. He has been penalized 3 times, but that's on 173 offensive snaps, and he has yet to allow a sack as the 2nd highest graded center by Pro Football Focus through 3 weeks, behind only the Colts' Ryan Kelly. Miami's attack has been pretty much unstoppable, scoring 36 at the Chargers, a more methodical approach in the 24-17 win at New England, who have been one of the best defenses in the league, and it should have at least been 30, if not for Bill Belichick literally coming up with a new strategy to block and negatively affect a couple of field goal attempts, and then just dropping a 70 burger on the Broncos without Jalen Waddle, who led the NFL in yards per catch just a year ago. Head coach Mike McDaniel has added cool new wrinkles in the run and pass game every week, finding ways to stress defensive rules and let the speed of that entire unit really shine. Tua is probably the front runner for MVP right now, and Tyreek Hill is currently on pace for over 2,300 receiving yards. But the untold story here is much better play up front than originally anticipated, even though play design certainly helps them to some degree, and the center has been exceptional. We start week 1 at the Chargers. This is something that you rarely ever see. It's 2nd and 5 and the Dolphins are actually in 21 personnel here, as we have fullback Alec Ingold in the slot, and tight end Durham Smythe is in this yo-yo or back and forth motion, so to speak. And sorry if the drawings are a little bit confusing here, but that kind of tells you the story of what the defense has to feel like right now as this play is coming at them. So what they're going to end up doing is running an end around with Eric Ezukama to the right side, while inside with the offensive line, they make this look like they're going to run power towards the left, where the tight end just comes in a little bit before reverting back outside to become a lead blocker. And the truly unique element here, to me at least, is our guy Kyren Williams right there in the middle, who makes sure to wall off this one technique initially, faking this down block so to speak, and after 1 second he's also going to pull to the outside. So let's just let this run a little bit. Once again, here's Williams, stays on it for a second, then pulls to the outside, and he's going to get a piece of the safety here, allowing Ezukama to get all the way down inside the 5-yard line. Late down in the first quarter, on this snap, they're in this very interesting condensed formation with the same personnel group as earlier, where now Braxton Berrios is a quasi-tight end right on the hip of the offensive tackle. Stacked behind him is the tight end Durham Smythe, and the back is flanked that way as well. Just before the snap, Tua signals to Smythe for this fast motion, and he becomes a lead blocker on this sweep to the right side. The edge defender out here, Joey Bosa, actually does a great job of holding the point, but Mostert has enough burst to win the corner. And what I really want you to pay attention to is the athleticism of the center right here in the middle. He's responsible for this backside backer, and what ends up happening is Willem actually goes underneath this playside linebacker Eric Kendricks, number 8, who appears completely lost, and he's able to pin number 9, bring his hips all the way around for Mostert to get outside and be unaffected by that for another solid gain. Now week 2 at New England, Miami's in 21 personnel with a tight end and a fullback to the right side of the offensive line, and a receiver off to either side that you can't see right now. They run the sweep play yet again, only this time it's Alec Ingold on the fast motion, and he asked this receiver out here to pin the edge defender inside in order to be able to create a seal and get out to the corner. This nose tackle ends up aligning on the playside shoulder of the center, so he has to reach block him here, whilst once again the rest of the show pulling out 2 people out to the corner, you pin him inside, and you're trying to get to the outside, which they actually hand this ball off behind Tua. As Connor steps with the playside foot, he gets attacked into his chest, but he's able to swivel his hips around and shield the defender away from the flow of the play. Number 23, Kyle Duggar, is just a madman, fighting off the block by the tackle here to hold this to 3 yards and actually draw a flag as well. But otherwise very well executed, especially from Williams. And that's kind of why I wanted to show it, because they regularly got out to the corner in this way. But this might have been the most impressive one because the defensive tackle is already lined up towards where the play is going. So now that brings us to 2nd and 19, following the penalty. And I have to show this from the All-22 view, because this is a really cool design for how to get to a simple tunnel screen. Miami's in 11 personnel now, and have all 3 eligibles at the bottom tied to the formation. So you have the tight end, Tyreek Hill, in this wing alignment originally, and Jalen Waddle. They showed a quick out motion from Tyreek yet again, putting stress on the defense because of the things they already did to the Chargers the week before. But now they're going to hit Jalen Waddle inside of that, and I want you to check out that convoy here to spring him loose. So they all get out to the corner, and watch number 58, Kyren Williams again. He doesn't even have anybody to take initially, but he's looking actively for work, gets a piece of the safety, and helps Waddle gain like another 10 yards here. This ends up being an awesome throw and catch from Tua to Braxton Berrios, but let's also appreciate how they manage to keep the passer clean here. They've got fullback Alec Ingold in this wing alignment next to the tackle as part of his 6-man protection, and it looks like big on big across the board. but I'd guess it's another half slide from the center to the right tackle. Meanwhile, the Patriots try to create some confusion here, bringing down Jabril Peppers late, and have the guys over there rush straight, while running this 3-man game over here to the right side, with Matt Judon taking one step up the field, and then looping towards the opposite A-gap. Check out the center here, starting on the nose tackle, and then as he recognizes what's happening, just add a little shove here, before transitioning to Judon, stonewalling him at contact, in order for Tua to get the ball out cleanly. Just awesome work all around, in particular by the center. Dolphins get the ball back, following a nice punt return, now into New England territory already, and on the very next snap, they seal the game on this 43-yard touchdown run. They've been attacking the edges all day in the run game, and you can't see it here because Ingold is lined up in the slot to the left side, but they're in 21 personnel, and motion the listed fullback across, as you see him here, to run split zone, whilst the tight end or wing here also sifts across to help out against any potential pursuit. What I really want you to pay attention to is this combo block between the center and the right guard, who displays this nose tackle laterally before the guard peels off, and Williams uses that momentum against the defender to drive him out of the lane in order for Mostert to get through untouched. 43-yard touchdown, game over, Dolphins. And I had to sneak this one in here from the Broncos demolition because it's just a sick play. Dolphins in 21 personnel and motion Alec Ingold in a traditional I formation. And then there's just so much going on here. So Tyreek, who's off the screen right now, he's gonna come behind Tua to fake this end around. The fullback sneaks out into the flats, and rookie running back Devon A-Chain, he's gonna fake as if he's stepping up, as the offensive line kinda makes this look like play action pass. And he's gonna be the one who actually gets the ball here on this backhanded shovel pass inside. Once again, for the O-line, it's basically like a half slide pass pro towards the right, where the left guard actually gets to climb up in the end here. And I'm pretty sure that's not how you teach it, but it's just an example of the awareness of Kyren Williams. As we watch this play run, he's engaged with the nose tackle here, but then realizes that the linebacker is about to make the play, so he just lets go of the nose and gets just enough of a piece of the linebacker so A-Chain can slip through the cracks and score from 5 yards out. Just an insane play. I actually loved Williams coming out of Texas as an offensive tackle who I thought had the ability to move inside if needed, because I was a big fan of the athletic profile and some of the details of the position. He played well in the Cowboys once he settled in at guard, but he's really elevated himself with the Dolphins once he moved to the pivot, and this season he's just been outstanding. Overall, this Miami offensive line, while being helped up by the scheme and not having a ton of true dropbacks in negative game script situations yet, has performed a lot better than expected, and their center may end up being in the Pro Bowl if the film nerds continue to pay attention. One more defensive player to discuss here, Alontae Taylor, second-year cornerback for the Saints, who actually didn't officially start until this past Sunday because the Saints also have a really good third-year corner in Paulson Adebo, along with Marshall Lattimore, who's been playing as well as he's ever done after he looked like an absolute superstar as a rookie. For Taylor, he's played 90% of defensive snaps, however, since the Saints have been in base for the first snap of all 3 of their games so far. 12 solo tackles, 4 of those for loss, a sack, and 7 passes defensed, with 5 of them coming against the Packers just now. He's been targeted 29 times already, but held opponents to 17 catches and 58 yards per game, while being flagged twice, once for defensive hold in week 1, and then a well-drawn pass interference by one of the Packers receivers, where he was theoretically in great position, but the placement of the ball made him run into the target a little bit. New Orleans gave up 18 straight points in the fourth quarter at Green Bay on Sunday, but otherwise have been one of the most suffocating defenses in the league. They've allowed just 4.3 yards per play, which is tied for 5th league-wide, their 3rd in unit success rate, and opposing quarterbacks have a passer rating of just 61.0 when facing them. Lattimore has been locked in on the better receivers they've gone up against, but it's not like the Titans, Panthers, or Packers necessarily have that dude out there, so Taylor has faced almost equally tough matchups, been heavily tested, and has come through for them in a major way. Starting off with the Titans game, where Taylor was the de facto starter in the slot, we're already in the fourth quarter here on a 2nd and 6. Tennessee is in a 3-by-1 set with a tight end to the left side, and this stack at the top, I would say, kind of a muddle-up bunch where you have this slot receiver Nick Westbrook-Akine almost in a wing alignment, where they fake split zone to that right side and have just two receivers out in the pattern with a combination of an out and a corner route. The Saints have linebacker Demario Davis walked up here, and he's going to rush off the edge, which they play cover one wrap behind it, meaning the boundary safety will drop deep, the field side safety is coming down to help out against anything coming over the middle, and you have man coverage on the outside, 2-on-2. Paulson Adebo ends up matching this high 7 route from the inside receiver, and Taylor ends up 1-on-1 with DeAndre Hopkins here on a quick out route. He does a great job of impeding the receiver's progress as he's trying to get out of this break, feels it coming, and you see the closing burst to undercut this for the big PBU and get you to third down. And this is the final Titans drive of the day. They're actually in 21 pony personnel, meaning two tailbacks on the field at the same time, with rookie Tyjae Spears as this offset wide receiver. And he'll come in jet motion across, whilst running inside zone the other way. Defensive end Cam Jordan will jump inside of the offensive tackle, realizing the opportunity to make a play, which forces Derrick Henry to bounce this. But Taylor back here, number 1, he's ready for it. Attacks downhill, gets a strong rep on King Henry, and they end up taking him down for a 2-yard loss. That's kind of rare to see a corner be able to face-up tackle the King himself. Now moving on to week 2 at Carolina, big third down here with the score tied at 3 at the start of the second quarter. Panthers are in a 2x2 set and motion into stacks on both sides, expecting New Orleans to be in man coverage, which they actually are, dropping down Tyrann Mathieu now as the field side safety and getting Marcus May into the post, into this cover 1 robber. Marshall Lattimore ends up being responsible for DJ Chark pushing vertically here, which puts Taylor 1-on-1 yet again with an out route from Adam Thielen here, which I'm guessing is the designated play. Tough throw across the field from one hash to the opposite sideline. Unless you lock your eyes on number 1 here, he's in full control of the route. He recognizes that, and as the receiver comes out of the break, quickly flips his head around to get both hands on the ball, and if he didn't roll over the body of the receiver here, that's actually a pick. Now in the fourth quarter, it's 2nd and 8, Panthers trying to get something going finally, with first overall pick Bryce Young getting banged around quite a bit on the day, motioning into this 2x2 double wide receiver stack, and this time go corner route plus a quick in with a swing route by the back down here. The Saints are running another variation of a split safety coverage, with Taylor ending up as the hook to flat defend out here. I'm not going to draw it up, I think you can kind of imagine it. So he doesn't blindly go with the in route, but maintains outside leverage, and then instantly triggers down on the swing route by the back as the ball comes out, shoots through his legs, and creates a TFL for -2 yards. He's missed a few tackles this year, but not because he was waiting for somebody in a 1-on-1 situation just whiffed, but rather because he's so aggressive with trying to create negative plays, which he has, and at least set up his teammates to clean things up. That brings us to week 3 at Green Bay, and probably Taylor's best game as a pro yet. 2nd and 15 here, Packers come out in this empty set, and run a variation of an all-curl concept basically, where they've got 5-yard hitches on the outside, inside curls from 12 to 10 yards, and this button hook by number 3 over here over the middle. The Saints counter with a hybrid coverage, with quarters into the boundary at the top here, and 2 man at the bottom, where they've got that safety over the top. Taylor is lined up in the slot here with outside leverage on number 2, Jaden Reed, the rookie receiver. And I want you to check out this click and close ability from the DB. Once again, playing from outside leverage, so not the easiest routes to play against. Sees the receiver throttle it down, attacks back down the stem along with the receiver, and wraps around for that big time PBU. Here's a back-to-back play sequence late in the first half. Here on 2nd and 8, the Packers come out in 12 personnel, with an ace duo set to the bottom and twins to the opposite side. And while the Saints counter with cover 1 robber yet again, dropping on the field side safety, it's really a true 1-on-1 matchup between Taylor and Romeo Doubs on this hitch and go at the top. The corner showcases tremendous patience to not bite his first break here, stays stride for stride with the receiver, and then beautifully plays through the hands of the intended target to knock the ball away. And just one more for good measure, to start the second half of right, 21 personnel, offset I formation to the right for the Packers, with twins in a stack that way. They motion the offset receiver here inside to crack down on the defensive end on this toss play. And I'm guessing that is an automatic adjustment for Taylor to replace this contained player over here, which basically turns into a run blitz, and he absolutely kills the play for a 6-yard loss. This guy can play inside or out, he's sticky in man, plays with tremendous technique. You'll love the eyes in zone and how willing he is to race up and unload on guys with the ball in their hands. They haven't played a ton of great wide receiver corps up to this point, but similar to Cleveland, I talked about earlier, having that trio of corners changes everything you can do up front. They do it in very different ways in terms of bringing pressure and the coverages they may play behind it, where it's a lot more match pattern stuff, but Taylor playing like a premier number 2 to Lattimore, and then you have the freedom to moving into the slot when the Debo is available. It really makes that unit go. And quarterbacks get all the glory usually anyway, but let's give one guy his flowers here. CJ Stroud, the 2nd overall pick and Texans' new franchise signal caller. The Texans are 1-2 and have about half the roster on IR it seems like already, including missing 4 or 5 starters on the offensive line. Yet Stroud has completed 64.5% of his passes for just over 300 yards per game and 4 touchdowns, and he just set the record for the most pass attempts through his first 3 starts without an interception with 121. Houston is now dead middle at 16th in EP per dropback, which is kind of wild considering they're averaging a minuscule 2.8 yards per carry in the run game, so no support from that, which is what you'd expect from a Bobby Slowick coordinated offense coming over from San Francisco, along with head coach DeMeco Ryans. However, Slowick and his rookie quarterback have really opened things up and given Houston residents reason for hope for the first time in a while. Let's get into the tape. Week 1 at Baltimore. Let's just start with a throw that shows trust in the play caller and the offensive system here. It's 2nd and 5 in this condensed 3-by-1 look with a tight bunch to the top. They jet motion the Z receiver here, in this case actually fullback Andrew Beck, and the fake split zone to the left for this 2-man concept with a deep swirl route over on the left side, and then a 10-yard in-cut by Nico Collins, with Baltimore being in this 2-high look. Stroud turns his back to the defense as he fakes the handoff, then has to flip the other way, and as he snaps his head around, he just needs to see this backside linebacker either be up for the run fake or just widen a little bit, so he can hit this window between the 2 inside backers, as the Ravens keep both safeties deep for what to me looks like cover 6. Perfect ball to Nico Collins over the middle for the first down. Watch it again from the quarterback's perspective here, and just how quickly everything has to happen. Turns the head, flips back around, finds Collins, and fires it in there. You don't even see the linebacker react really, because just how quickly everything happens. And I want to quickly mention that I could have easily listed Nico Collins as one of the underrated studs so far as well, particularly after I told everybody to draft him in fantasy in a video that I released in early August, because I love the combination of talent and fit as the X-receiver for Shanahan-style offense. Now late in the 4th quarter, down 25-9, less than 4 minutes left in the game, you're trying to still somehow make a run at this. Texans start in 2-by-2 with this condensed look at the bottom and motion the slot receiver across into what basically turns into a 4-strong look here, with the back also releasing this way. But with this backside safety not rotating down to cloud the picture in what appears to be cover 4, as you basically have man down here with the corner and the safety helping out over the top. It's all about this deep curl route at about 15 yards by fellow rookie receiver Tank Dell. Stroud has always been a very confident outside the numbers thrower, so this is all about timing, trust in his guy, and precision ball placement. Because as we let this run, the corner doesn't give up a whole lot of ground, and if this ball is any higher or further towards the inside, this may end up getting broken up, but it's low and right at the sideline for a big time completion to Dell and get them a first down. Now week 2 versus the Colts, love this one, down 14-0 here quickly after a touchdown drive and another score set up off a strip sack by the Colts. Gotta get something going, 3rd and 4 here. Texans come out in the split backfield with Robert Woods as the guy flanked towards the right side of Stroud, while Indy shows a pretty telling single high look and drop into cover 3. The 2 guys next to the quarterback are basically there to bind the flat defenders, while we've got the tight end over here hooking up over the middle with a deep in cut coming in behind him, And then there's Nico at the X again in a slightly reduced split, who's going to release inside of the corner for a glance route. Perfectly hits him on the run in this window between the flat defender and the linebacker, which he really creates with his eyes, which I'm going to show you from the backside here. So as soon as he gets the ball, check out his helmet, aiming towards that two wide receiver side. Linebackers here, Franklin, I'm guessing, should widen towards the field to be able to create better spacing here. But he does not move off the spot and is actually slightly open the other way. So as you see, Stroud flips the other way, ball right on the money for Collins, and he makes more happen after the catch. And Stroud was working those in-breaking routes with Nico all day long against the two high looks they were presented, along with connecting for a touchdown with him on the snap right after this. Several timing-based routes towards either sideline, but what I really wanted to show you here is this play at the end of that drive that we just talked about, because the lack of mobility and playmaking skills were negative on Stroud's scouting report for many people. Forget about play design for now, this is kind of backyard football, and that creativity was something that was kind of missing in his game at the collegiate level to some degree, just because of the ways that Ohio State was able to design plays that worked on schedule. So check out Stroud here. We've got the light run fake up the middle. It's a really far throw. I think the reason he doesn't release this is because the corner has outside leverage. Maybe he can complete this throw on the corner route to Tank Dell. But he doesn't quite trust it. Extends the play. Goes up and then gets wide. Actually retreats here a little bit as he has that pressure flashing up in his face. And then check out this ball. With the perfect location of the ball, I mean, check out where it lands. If Robert Woods is able to just tap his feet in bounds, that's a touchdown and a play that will be on Stroud's highlight reel for the rest of his career. So with that pinpoint location, I'm just not going to fault him at all here. Unfortunately, can't quite hook up, but that is an awesome play. And then 3 more clips from this past Sunday at Jacksonville, where they really blew out the Jaguars. Texans come out in 21 personnel in order to get the Jags to match with base, which they do. They motion fullback Andrew Beck, who would later have that incredible kick return touchdown out of this stack at the bottom, into basically a double wing set, showing a soft inside zone fake into a 2-man play action concept with the skinny post at the bottom by Tank Dell and a deep over route coming the other way. One of the staples of the Shanahan offense just in terms of a play design, even though I would say they do it in a different way. With these guys underneath, check releasing, but it's not really important for the play here. Jacksonville puts a lot of pressure on these corners here, as you've got both safeties up, and they're going to play invert cover 2, meaning these 2 corners are responsible for the deep halves, while Rayshon Jenkins over here has to haul ass to run the pole here with somebody pushing up the middle. But no chance against Tank Dell here at the bottom, who does a good job to drift in his stem a little bit in order to open up the middle of the field for himself as he bends this to the post. And check out this dime from Stroud, not leading him too far across the field to where the backside corner can affect the catch point. Obviously a great grab by the rookie receiver as well, but that sets up the first Texans touchdown of the day. Now early in the second half, already up 17-7, it's 3rd and 8, and this ends up as an incompletion, but has nothing to do with Stroud. They come out in a 3-by-1 set with trips to the top here, and they basically swap Robert Woods and the running back in terms of where they align them, running a variation of a China concept I call it, where number 3 is pushing up the hash, and we've got quick inbreakers coming in behind it, while on the backside with a glance route by Nico and the recast running back working out into the flats, the Jags drop down the field side safety into what basically becomes cover 3, with the boundary corner in a Mac call on Nico Collins, so man wherever he goes. And even though it's the Jags top corner Tyson Campbell, because this weak side backer widens like this, Stroud decides to attack that void in the middle of the field. Check out this anticipation throw way before the receiver comes out of his break. Ball comes out right now. It's a little bit low, in part to protect this guy from the big hit, but as good as Collins has been, that should have been a catch and a conversion. And just quickly, once again, because the lack of ability to create was such a critical point in his draft evaluation, plus we just talked about another drop, you've got to like this. Once again, slide run fake up the middle. Stroud sees somebody flashing off the edge, hitches up, gets out. Dalton Schultz nicely works a scramble drill here initially, as he sells taking off before working back down towards his quarterback. But as you can see, the ball hits him right in the hands, and the Texans ultimately have to settle for a field goal instead of this touchdown. I personally had Stroud as my number 3 quarterback in this draft class, but considered all of them top 10 overall prospects, who simply brought different strengths to the table. Stroud I looked at as the most pro-ready one of the bunch, but while he ran plenty of West Coast-oriented concepts at Ohio State, where I saw a potential holdup was the way they were able to create space in college and how much quicker everything would have to happen in the NFL. There have been no issues so far with that, and the way he would get to his answers early in the play clock has actually taken pressure off an offensive line that is missing 4 or 5 intended starters, while elevating the wide receiver corps that on paper appeared below average before the season started. That's gonna do it for today though. Thank you so much for watching this extended episode. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and maybe you could let a friend know about it. That would really help me out. What did you think of the list? Did I miss anybody important? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments, or any questions you may have. I've put out a lot of written content recently, because it was a more fitting format for what I had in mind, but generally I'm trying to get back to alternating between videos and write-ups, which last week I did a ranking of the top 5 collegiate players at every position if you want to check that out. And I'll be back next week over on my page hellotofootballtalk.com yet again with my NFL power rankings at the quarter pole of the season. Then we'll see if I get any video ideas based on what's happening around the league. Always happy to read any suggestions down below as well. So until then, see you later. Peace!